And I have to acknowledge now that ABP, Anand Bazar Patrika and the Telegraph was only one of the two newspaper publications, legacy media.
முந்திரி திராட்சை முழுசா இருக்கு.
ஆச்சி பாயாசம் மிக்ஸ் ஒன்று வாங்கினால் ஒன்று இலவசம்.
That really gave a lot of space for the arts. We now know that social media anxiety has generated huge mental health issues.
So Anitha, firstly, recently I had the privilege of speaking with you about 33 years of Nartaki. So in a certain way, Anitha, you've also been an early adopter of digital platforms with Nartaki. So in some sense, you are, for the arts world, a culture mentor of sorts. So I'm curious to ask you, how has your journey from stage to screen really changed your understanding of these new age jargons, which is liveness, the Insta liveness, the social media presence, and what does it really mean in the world of the arts today?
I belong to the generation of the 1950s, which means I really was born within 10 years of India's independence. And the idea was, and so it was definitely an analog world, a world in which we wrote letters. There were no fax machines at that time even to communicate, and we had rotary dials and then the push button dials. And life, we can look back with nostalgia and say it was simpler. Of course, we did not have social media. And I remember in 1982 when we got the color television with the Asian Games. So in many ways, I've lived through many of those experiences. But I've always been very excited about the fact that however hard you work and however good an artist you are as a dancer, if you fill a hall, maybe 500 people, maybe 1,000, but something on television could reach so many more people.
Right.
So I wanted to study television.
Right.
In the late 1970s and 80s in America. And I was the first ever Indian student to get Reserve Bank funds to study media, because the Reserve Bank was saying, why do we waste money on something like this? We're sending people to study what we call more important. But anyway, what I learned there, of course, in television and film, was that frame, actually the artist or the subject becomes only a subject. You don't have control in this other medium about how you're framed, how you're shot, how you are lit, and how you are edited.
Right.
You may be given something to do, but everybody else is the puppeteer controlling you. Yeah, which is very different from the time when you're the dancer on stage, where you would have learned, but once you're on stage, the spotlight is on you. And in a sense, the orchestra is following you. So it felt very different to sort of abdicate a certain kind of responsibility, but very exciting because I was learning how to direct and how to produce.
Right.
So it was a new kind of power structure. But of course, from then, I have to say that I don't know how many of you remember MTV came along, because we were taught a certain kind of editing. Right. MTV came and just upended the game. And let's come to media, because it's an ABP forum.
Absolutely.
And I have to acknowledge now that ABP, Anand Bazar Patrika and the Telegraph was only one of the two newspaper publications, legacy media, that really gave a lot of space for the arts. And the second being the Hindu. I also remember, and I was part of the protest, in the late 90s, media was shifting. And it was led by one media house in Western India that started putting toothpaste and square ads of toothpaste or whatever it was in the middle of editorial articles. So it was like, let's put something that can sell, and the arts were beginning to suffer. Arts and entertainment were clubbed together. It became arts and entertainment. So I remember a lot of very prominent artists, musicians and dancers in Delhi, late 1990s. We all dressed in black. It was one ceremonial event at the India Habitat Center, holding a white flower. And we went in silence and sort of placed it in the center. I was asked to be there. I happened to be in Delhi. And this was a protest for the way media was beginning to make arts into entertainment.
Right.
And 2004, Facebook, 2008, Instagram, and I got onto the platforms just out of curiosity. Yeah. I did not know about algorithms and how to navigate them. And in that sense, I'm really old world. And as social media has flipping the script and sort of, flipping the way it looks and changing the way our pages are looking. I have to tell you, before the pandemic, I don't know how many of you just knew automatically how to work Insta Live. I didn't. So the learning has mandated to be very fast. Now, to come to your question about the speed and attention span and the deficit, we now know that social media anxiety has generated huge mental health issues.
Right.
And the time when I would dance 2 hours or 2.5 hours has shrunk even by presenters to be 40 minutes and 50 minutes.
Absolutely.
Because short form videos of not more than 2 minutes with attention span of saying clocked not more than 3 seconds is now almost the nature of the game. I call it doom scrolling because there's a generation that sleeps with their device and wakes up and the first thing in the morning, even before they brush their teeth, they're scrolling or swiping. And I realize the anxiety that this has. When you talk about smartly made reels, beautifully ChatGPT aided text, that now even journalists are resorting to. My question is, the human body when it studies music and when it studies dance, there is a certain length of time that the body has to absorb, the muscles have to absorb that memory of the movement or the teaching, and the voice has to absorb a certain level of range and register.
Right.
You can't compress that into a 30-second reel. So there is a certain level of time that you have to spend, abhyasa, riyaz, whatever you call it. But finally, you have to decide if you want the hybridity of being a real dancer and a real dancer. Will a lovely social media presence, it'll pique people's interest.
Yeah.
This girl has a lovely presence. Let me go and watch her dance or his dance or watch him or her in music. If that live performance does not deliver what the real promises, then it is not a win-win for the artist. It really isn't. But today, on social media, we have a lot of young artists who are making very good money. There is a monetization possibility, and there are people earning very good money by just posting interesting content.
Right.
So they have become far more present on social media than offline.
Right.
So maybe we are looking at a parallel set of artists now.
Today, dance videos are, like you said, clipped, forwarded, without credit, most often. How do you think about consent and moral rights, really, for performing artists?
Well, I think that we are, the only society that when we sit in a dance or music performance, even after having announced that please don't videotape, please don't photograph, please don't do flash photography, everybody is watching it through their phones. And I know people who have, like, almost policing people, please put down your phones. Yeah. And there is diminishing respect for the artist's creativity and intellectual property, because the next day you will be tagged. After the announcement has been made, please don't enjoy the performance, I'll get about 20 tags of different aspects of the performance, which of course have been done without permission. An IP lawyer, especially in the arts, they say the minute you have an idea, put it out on your social media platform. Let people know immediately that it's your idea.
Yeah.
And as the idea is developing, keep sharing. You select what aspects of it you want to share, but put it out as your idea.
Like a work in progress.
Absolutely. It's your idea, it's your concept, and the process of development is yours. Today, young dancers who leave either because of marriage or studies, or they leave their guru, there are more independent dancers around the world. I'm talking of, when I just talk of dance, and there's so much of free information. YouTube is filled with dance videos, with good quality music, and a lot of choreography available. So I know of many gurus themselves who learn from those YouTube videos. And then they teach those pieces to their dancers. They download the music without permission. So I'm talking of a general disdain, a really disrespect.
Yeah.
And I think that is what saddens me.
But also it's because it's just freely available, right?
There's so much information available. So many ideas about, and people are talking, so many ideas about costume and choreography and music and composition. So it's really easy to literally, as I say, steal. It's not even borrow because you're not giving it back and you're not even acknowledging it. You're passing it off as yours.
You know, in the context of the arts, really discernment is a very important quality, both from the perspective of the artist and more so from the perspective of the audience. So by virtue of, so much content available and so many dancers who may be really good at making reels but may not necessarily be really good dancers on stage, how is it sort of shifting this whole idea of discernment from the perspective of an audience member?
We have become a society where we plan where we are going to eat. We plan our travel. We plan who we're going to meet up with. But we don't wake up in the morning and say, you know what, today I feel like watching a dance program. Today I just feel like watching a music program. We don't want to go to watch the live arts because we have a free evening. We don't do that. We prefer to stay home and binge watch. Whatever. So I feel that we are now people who go because somebody's invited us. Either we know the artist or it's the daughter or whatever, wife of somebody we know. So in many times we go to a live arts performance almost like some kind of a duty.
Show face.
To show face. Unlike many other cultures who just go because they either love dance or they love music, or they love opera, or they love... So we don't have that love. I'm talking of generally. There is a great love for sports. There's a great love for fashion and food, and we follow politics avidly, but not for the live arts.
And yet, we're gearing up for the Margari Festival, Anitha, which is one of the largest festivals of music and dance in the country.
It is the single oldest, largest, privately funded performing arts festival in the world. Without even a single, nothing from state money. It came with a group of people who said, we need to make it happen. It started with music and dance was added. But you're talking of discernment and I completely agree. And it starts with the parents and the teachers. It starts with this haste because parents have this, they want to sort of make dance and music sort of an India 101 culture course. Sometime you get into dance and you do it until you're 18 because after you'll fly off and go to college, I don't know what will happen. Then, but at the same time, the attention and seriousness that the parent encourages the student to have towards the live arts is very different if the same student is also playing sports or also being trained in sports. But discernment is because there is a glut of too many performers as students. We are filled, the classrooms are filled with dancers and musicians, everybody wanting to perform before they stop performance. So up to the point of your 18, 20, 21, 22, there are so many young aspirants. So there is this push by the parents who are even willing to pay for that slot. I'm disappointed in the general level of mediocrity, more or less, that we see. We see very rare flashes of excellence. Excellence takes time. Excellence means you need to not just have great technique, but you also need to have that extra USP, that X factor, that makes people want to watch you beyond great technique.
No, I was going to ask you, Anitha, about you're also a curator. But also now you're actually contending with some beautiful pictures of you here. You're also contending with the algorithm, which is also an invisible curator of sorts. And ever since I started Alap, for example, on my Instagram page, I only have dancers content. But I want to see other content because I'm also interested in other things. So how do real-time curators also resist and negotiate this invisible curator called the algorithm?
I completely agree. I get all kinds of stuff. I get some dance, but not dance. But it's also about, because I'm generally curious about contemporary dance, Western dance, and other kinds of the live arts. So I get a variety of feed. You work much closely with dancers, and you work predominantly with South Indian dancers all over the world, South Indian artists. I have stopped worrying and spending sleepless nights about this algo. To put it sure. I think one has to be there. One has to try to understand what's going on. The Nartaki page has a team handling it.
Yeah.
But also, you know how vulnerable it is. Like overnight, it can be hacked. Overnight, your page can disappear.
Yeah.
So you have to do a backup of a backup of a backup, I suppose, at some point. So the digital world is powerful. It exists. There's opinions. I find sometimes the X platform more stimulating, although the voices are very shrill and very divided compared to the voices I hear or the tone and tenor I hear in the dance and music, because everybody's playing safe. Yeah. Everybody is trying to be very polite. Everybody is trying not to ruffle any feathers, and today's critics, like you have a dance performance, you put it out on social media, your own peers are commenting about it, and that's the end of it. So when we have diminishing space, like the Telegraph, the Hindu still has space, I feel writing about a performance actually completes the circle for the performer themselves. Today, let me tell you, Instagram and social media reviews are not considered serious by visa embassies and consulates. They don't take it seriously at all. You need to have a printed review from a reputable, established organization. There is a great need. You talk of discernment. We need to cultivate people who can look at the arts and respond. It can be in any language. We are talking in English, but it can be in Hindi, it can be in Telugu, it can be in Tamil. What does that performance mean? I feel music is doing much better than dance in that sense, because Indian music, even if you're trained classically, you have the ability to cross over and be part of what we call global music.
Right.
It's not so with dance. It's fixated on the human body. Right. And the human body has absorbed a certain kind of modality of movement, and you cannot unlearn movement because the muscles store memory. So it's very difficult in dance to suddenly go off and, collaborate with X, Y, and Z. That's why we have the arts managers now. That's why we have curators. And we have a new genre called dance designers. Okay. I just hope that not everybody wants to be on stage. Right. I'd love for more people to learn lighting, arts management, writing, sound design, because everybody else around the live performer is making money, except the dancer.
Yeah, Anitha, I think it would be very unfair if I didn't ask you a question. The one word that you didn't use while referring to the digital world is the word brutal. Yes. Because the digital world can really open up the possibility for conversation, but also it can be extremely brutal, especially through trolling, body shaming, caste, privilege, gender bias. So I really want to ask you what kinds of safe spaces can, people who work in the space of the arts, like you and me, really create?
Well, I've been trolled. And, a lot of very strong language has been used, and my official Nartaki Wikipedia page was deleted on purpose. But I step back and I think about it and I say, it's okay. The brutality of the digital world is real, but it's only as brutal as you decide how you're going to receive that kind of hate or resistance or pushback. Right. I think my generation is far more circumspect, much more resilient, because the pushback is coming from the 30-somethings, right? And I feel that they will also grow old, and they will have pushback of their own, and words cannot take you down. I always feel that a critic has seen that one performance at one time and made his or her observations about that one performance. But you cannot dismantle a really passionate and serious artist's journey if that person is not hell-bent on just pursuing, honing, and perfecting their art. Yes.
Thank you very much for this session. Have a great afternoon.
முந்திரி திராட்சை முழுசா இருக்கு.
ஆச்சி பாயாசம் மிக்ஸ் ஒன்று வாங்கினால் ஒன்று இலவசம்.